Hello Power Rangers Lightning Collection fans, and welcome back to Lightning Storm, the series where lightning always strikes twice as we talk about everything that has happened in the past week for the Power Rangers Lightning Collection. And it's good to be back. So, really sorry for not having episode 201 out last weekend. I definitely was planning on making one, but I've been sick, and I still kind of am a little bit. I'm definitely feeling significantly better than I was a week ago. Oh, my voice just kind of cracked right there. So I'm still a little congested. But yeah, we still got some stuff to talk about. Thankfully, not a lot happened last week, and not a lot really happened this week. So we're going to be kind of covering both weeks here on Lightning Storm. Thank you guys so much for the incredible support on episode 200 a couple weeks ago. That was such a great episode. It's already become the 4th most viewed episode of Lightning Storm ever, which is awesome. I'm really, really happy with the support that one got. Amazing comments. You guys seem to really like the whole thing I did, bringing my friends in to cover the stories, and it was a blast. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into episode 201. Alright, so first up for this week here, we have Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Once and Always. So, we don't really have anything here that is super new or anything that we didn't kind of already know about, sort of, although there is one kind of major thing, so that's not really true when I say that. But we did recently get a trailer for Once and Always, finally, which if you guys have not checked out my video on that, be sure to check it out here now. I'm going to have the little card pop up somewhere around here. However, there actually was something sort of Lightning Collection related to it, pertaining to what we saw in the trailer, and that is the Zords. So this was pointed out by a lot of different people pretty much right when the trailer dropped, and I mentioned it very briefly in my kind of video about the trailer, but it does appear with the very slight glimpses of it that we can see from the trailer that the Zords that they're going to be using in this special, which obviously are CGI, they're not doing actual models and stuff that, the Japanese footage would do, but it does appear that the CGI is at least using, or is definitely at least inspired by, the 3D CAD files of the Zord Ascension Project Lightning Collection Megazord. And the whole reason why we know that is, well, first of all, you can very clearly see the clips on the side of the T-Rex. The original 93 footage obviously didn't have that, and if that's exactly where that clip is on the Zord Ascension Project Megazord. You can also tell by the Mastodon with the M, where they added that extra sculpting in there. It's very strange because it definitely seems like for the Zords they used the CAD file, the 3D model, that was probably just, the same one used or very similar to the one that they used to, manufacture the toy. They probably just took that model and made it posable in some kind of, I don't know how CGI and graphics work and stuff like that, but they probably could do something like that. However, when it's combined in its full Megazord mode, there's not that grid pattern on the chest that I kind of hate on the Zap Megazord personally, but it's funny because the Zords are definitely based off of the Zap ones, so they have a lot of extra detail, but then it almost looks like the people who made the show were yeah, even we don't like that grid pattern on the Pterodactyl. I don't know why they did that and didn't have that carried over because, it's not accurate. But it creates this really weird thing to where now the Zap designs with the extra detail technically are canon. You can call that the Once and Always version or something. So it's kind of a weird thing. It's kind of an interesting thing there how that all panned out. Now also speaking of the special and Lightning Collection related things, we talked about this months ago when we first got our first stills for the special, but it does appear that Robo Rita's whole plan is going to be taking the Rangers and having them turned into action figures that are probably Lightning Collection props, but it's been rather tricky to get a really good picture of what this looks like, and I worry that when the special actually releases that will also be the same case to where we don't get I'm hoping for a nice close-up or something where they're look at the Rangers I've captured, and they zoom in on it or something, because I really want to examine this photo and see if there's any leaked photos or any leaked figures in there. We did get one pretty good photo so far, probably our best one we've had so far, which was thanks to executive producer Simon Bennett on his Instagram, and there's no doubt about it that some of the figures there are Lost Galaxy and some of the figures there are Dino Thunder. The one that we had thought was maybe Turbo Red back in January is standing next to Dino Thunder, which makes kind of a lot of people think that it actually might be Dino Thunder Red and not Turbo Red. So that side was always kind of not the hardest side to figure out. It's the other side where some people thought they saw a different Yellow Ranger that we don't have yet and stuff like that. So I really do want to see what the other side of this figure display kidnapping looks like. We saw a little bit of it in the trailer where we can very clearly see that it's Mighty Morphin Red, Green, and Pink that are captured. Probably Jason, Kimberly, and Tommy if I had to guess. Probably explaining why they're out of the battle and are going to be missing for most of this special. But I'm still incredibly interested in this because there's no doubt about it with the Zords that they're definitely using the Lightning Collection, basis for them. But if they're actually using the Lightning Collection figures as also just pure props into themselves, that's really cool, and I really like that, and I hope that that is exactly what's happening here, because that's going to make me love this special 100 times more. And next up for this week, we have Lost Galaxy Yellow. It's finally out. So we've been getting a lot of photos and videos over the last couple weeks from the UK, from people who got Lost Galaxy Yellow. So I don't even remember at this point which store was like the first one to get it, but it seemed like pretty universal that people were getting it in the UK. I think From Comics and Cocktails was probably one of them. I know Lightning Collector 2021 uploaded a review of it already, so that will of course be linked in the description below. Same thing with SPD Yellow. SPD Yellow is also releasing around the UK, but we had seen that one for so many times, over so many different months, that it's not as exciting to see it anymore because we've seen it. But Lost Galaxy Yellow was one that we didn't see in person, since that was the one that just took a little extra time for us to see her box design and get the pre-orders launched and everything like that. And this figure looks pretty solid. I've seen some really nice group photos of her with the rest of the Lost Galaxy members that we have so far, which is really nice because we are getting Kendricks in a couple months in Wave 14, so we're going to be able to have a very complete Lost Galaxy team pretty soon. But that lack of a Quasar Saber really is something that is just making this figure so off, and it's so unfortunate too, because the Quasar launcher, the accessory that they decided to give her instead, seems to have some QC problems, where I've seen a lot of people reporting that the stickers are peeling off of the little booster parts of it, which, to be honest, I never realized that was a sticker at all. So I looked back at the Lost Galaxy Red figure from Wave 8, the last figure that included that accessory, and yeah, it does appear that that was a sticker this entire time. I really had no idea about that, but it's just kind of ironic that the accessory that has the QC problems, and I've seen some reports that it's kind of difficult to get her to hold the Quasar launcher, is the thing that has the most problems with this figure. Because I like the Quasar launcher, I am happy that she has it, but I really am not happy that she doesn't have the extended Quasar Saber. I'm not going to get into that all over again, because everybody knows at this point that she doesn't, and everybody knows that was a stupid decision, but still, it's just kind of funny that the accessory she has instead of it is kind of a problem and kind of a mess. But of course it is. And then next up for this week, we have the Cobra Kai figures. So, not a lot to talk about them here, because they did already release in the UK a couple weeks ago, as we talked about in episode 200. We did get to see, thanks to Vaughn's clip, that they are showing up in the US already. Now, there was at least one target, and it might just be this one isolated target, but one target already put Daniel LaRusso on 30% clearance. So if you're curious how these figures were going to go, that's how they're going to go. I have no doubt about it that these are going to be clearance figures. They're inevitable to be clearance figures. That's when I'm going to get them, because these are the least excited I've ever been for Lightning Collection figures, because they just don't really serve any basis to exist at all. Because the TMNT crossover had the comics, and the Street Fighter one had the video games, so there's reasonable existence qualifications for those, but these just happen. Honestly, the thing I'm the most excited for is the skin colored hands that we're going to get with at least two of these guys, because you can give those to the original Ninja Rangers and kind of recreate a more screen accurate 95 movie look. So that's kind of cool. But and I do like the Skelly Putty, which for some reason the Skelly Putty got delayed on Hasbro Pulse US to June 25th. No idea why. The other two figures have an April, I forget the exact date, but it's an upcoming date in April, pretty soon in April, so they should be shipping out from Pulse somewhat soon. I don't even think Target's website has official dates for them at this point still, and they still haven't revealed the other two, but yeah, the figures are there. I'm sure they're going to get clearance. We're going to get them in the US somewhat soon, and they're kind of there. They kind of exist, and that's kind of how they always have been. Alright, so I wanted to talk about this one. So this happened a week and a half ago. Not this past Tuesday, but the Tuesday prior. That's the Tuesday right after episode 200. This picture was going around on Facebook and on Twitter. I was tagged in it numerous different times. And it appeared to show an upcoming figure release, or at least the box for an upcoming figure release of the Matt Cook Green Ranger design from the Boom Studios comics. If it wasn't kind of obvious by the box, though I will give it credit, it's a really convincing looking box. This is a fake. I don't know exactly where the source of this is. I first saw it on Twitter and people kept tagging me in it. I think it was sourced from Facebook, but just like that one Dragon Shield or Spectrum box and stuff like that hoax from a couple years ago, it was a hoax figure. Kind of funny that they didn't decide to release it today on April 1st, which April 1st, am I doing anything different for Lightning Storm on April 1st? I don't think I am. I don't think so. Everything seems right. but I was pretty impressed with how this box turned out. Now, to kind of burst your bubble, yes, it's fake. This is not a real, actual leak or anything like that for a Matt Cook Green Ranger, though I really want there to be one for him. He's one of those figures in the Boom Studios universe, like the Omega Rangers, which at least they're finally getting to those, but the things like the Omega Rangers and stuff like that were figures that I just don't get why Hasbro won't make, because they are such important, headliners on the covers most of the time, main characters of the comics. I kind of get it when you don't do the more obscure things, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a good example, I don't even know, you do, the Silver Ranger, Death Ranger version of him from the comics, something that was kind of minor, somewhat, wasn't, a main character, kind of like a one-issue or two-issue kind of thing. But then when you don't do, the Omegas for a long period of time, and you don't do, the 7th Ranger, who's been, part of the main team, and I think in mostly every issue since he debuted as the Green Ranger, you just never get around to doing that figure, it seems weird to me. And if you were curious where the picture of this was sourced from, I'm pretty sure it's a Photoshop of this statue, which is actually the only official piece of Matt Cook Green Ranger merchandise that I can find, which is a cool statue. And I liked this Green Ranger design. It's heavily inspired by the Bat and the Sun design for the Green Ranger. And I would love for there to actually be a figure of this and the Bat and the Sun Green one as well. And maybe there could be. The reason why I wanted to cover this as well is that, well, first of all, just to, make sure that everybody knows that was a fake. However, and I don't remember how specific I got with it before, and I unfortunately still can't get very specific with it because I don't have the information, but after I leaked, or around the time I leaked the Omega Ranger 4-pack, I had said that there was more Boom Studios figures on the way for the Lightning Collection, and that is the case. Now, as I just said, I don't remember how specific I got with this, but if I didn't already say it before, there are 4 Boom Studios figures in the works beyond the Omega Ranger 4-pack. This is not the Omega Ranger 4-pack, this is something other than that. What are they? I genuinely do not know. They are all codenamed. I don't think I can share the code names, unfortunately, right now, which I know is weird. I don't know. I know it doesn't really make sense as to why I wouldn't share the code names, but I'm not going to right now. But they don't help you anyway. They're all just a bunch of random nonsense that just doesn't get you any closer to discovering what they are. But I don't know what these figures are, other than the fact that the codename does have Boom Studios or Boom in it, so that kind of does lead you to believe that it's going to be more comic figures, but I don't know who they're going to be. Now, I would make Matt Cook Green Ranger one of those. I would make, I don't know, maybe the Solar Ranger, trying to think of the big heavy hitter comic leaders, right? Maybe this would be something to do with the upcoming Ranger Academy series, or the new series that Amy Jo Johnson is writing, or something like that. Maybe we would kind of go back and get some stuff we probably should have had before, like Grace Sterling as the Red Ranger, or some of the Solar Rangers I just mentioned, or maybe the Death Ranger. Maybe this is how we get other Omegas or something like that. I don't particularly know, but just expect that there are going to be at least 4 Boom Studios figures separate from the Omega Ranger 4-pack coming out, I believe, this fall, probably around the time of the Omega Ranger 4-pack, and if that means we're going to be doing this kind of small little sub-push into the Boom Studios comics, I'm all here for that, because we've had a decent amount of comic figures, but there's still a lot more that I want them to do. A lot that would just be simple repaints and slight remolds, which Hasbro loves to do that, and I'm totally good with that if that's something that they would like to continue to explore. So let me know down in the comments below, though, which comic figures of all the different possible designs and characters, because it doesn't even have to be Rangers, technically. It could be villains and stuff like that, too. I don't actually know at all what these 4 figures are, other than the fact that they are Boom Studios related in some regard. So keep that in mind. We're getting at least 4 more figures. Maybe Matt Cook Green Ranger is one of them, but I figured this kind of fake box was a good way to kind of bring that back up again and kind of get the speculation and conversation about it rolling a little bit. And then finally for this week, kind of continuing leak talk and everything, I wanted to kind of talk about a little bit of the stuff that I mentioned in episode 200 of Lightning Storm. Specifically, Wave 15. So, I actually got a lot of comments, and then I was going to respond to a number of the comments from episode 200, and then I got sick, and I just didn't do it, and I feel bad about that. However, a lot of people did bring up a really good point that I definitely caught, but just didn't really focus on in Lightning Storm, and I kind of wanted to go back to it and explain why I kind of just completely ignored it and just kept going on with it. And that's when I was talking about how Wave 15 only was going to have 3 figures and not 4 figures. But then, as everybody rightfully pointed out, there is a missing product number in the batch of Wave 15 codenames. And why did I not explain that? So, and let me try to explain it the best that I can. And you're right, there is a missing number in that batch of listings there, which would imply that there should be some, a 4th listing, a 4th codename to slot into that batch to have a normal wave. And I didn't explain why. even with that in mind, why I still only think that wave 15 is 3 figures instead of 4 figures. So let me try to explain that a little bit better to kind of clear up the air on that one, and still, present the idea that we're probably only going to get 3 figures. So Hasbro product numbers are strange. So let me just get that off the bat right now. They don't, every time you think they're going to follow a pattern, they do not. So most of the time, yes, whenever we've had a wave of figures, and I'm just plucking a random number here, I'm thinking, I don't know, wave 9 I think is a good example. Yeah, wave 9, let's do that one. So wave 9 actually is a really good example for kind of explaining the weirdness of product numbers. So if you remember kind of the whole ordeal, and wave 15 kind of is a similar case, and that's another point about wave 15 I wanted to bring up, is that a lot of people were comparing it to wave 7, when we also only had 3 figures in that wave and a repack of Mighty Morphin White from wave 1 to still have 4 figures. And that's back then, the original wave 7 listings, which I did a whole video like 3 years ago at this point, explaining how wave 6 and wave 7 are all swapped around. The lineup that we ended up getting for wave 6 and 7 was not the original plan. Some stuff happened internally, stuff that we'll never really know for sure, but we have listing proof to like actually, clarify, or not clarify, but to prove that some weirdness happened with wave 6 and 7. And for a perfect example of that, we have the product numbers. So if you look at the product numbers for specifically In Space Black, which if anybody remembers, and if anybody's been following Lightning Collection leaks for as long as I've been covering them, that was a figure whose listing leaked a long time before he actually ended up showing up in Wave 9. He leaked back in the original Wave 7 listings, and then just was missing. He was just an MIA figure for a long period of time. And then when he finally showed up, he was in Wave 9. But because of that, even though the figure's listing was MIA for a while and then eventually showed up again, they didn't change his product number. So his product number makes it look like he should be a Wave 7 figure when he actually ended up becoming a Wave 9 figure. Now, for the most part, if a wave is how it's supposed to be, the numbers are sequential. You pick a range of 4 numbers, they follow that number order for the most part. So we've had a lot of weirdness going around, and that's not just with the main waves, as we've talked about, and I'm not going to get into a lot here today, because I covered it in episode 200, but we're having some change-ups in the remastered waves and the deluxe waves. So waves are kind of all over the place here. So when you look at wave 15 and what it is currently, there is no 4th listing. Now, I can't share where these listings come from, but from what I've seen with it, there is no 4th listing. There is no product in that missing product number. It doesn't mean that product number doesn't exist. In fact, it's somewhat possible that maybe if we have listings for a wave 16 or something like that, maybe that missing product number will re-show up again later on down the line. Maybe at one point that missing product number was supposed to go there and be in wave 15 and then got plucked for some reason and the wave only became 3 figures. But basically, as it is right now, I would not expect wave 15 to have 4 figures. I'd expect it to have 3. Now, is it going to have a repacked figure to fill a case of 4? No. And the reason why that is because I have the case breakdown for wave 15. So if you don't know how Lightning Collection cases work, these work where you get 8 figures in a case. At least that's how it usually goes to stores. People, like retailers, can order stuff from Hasbro directly online and stuff like that, so you get entire cases of just the same figure. But typically, like at a Target or a Walmart, Lightning Collection figures are shipped 8 figures to a case whenever they get a wave. And for the longest time, it's been 4 figures, of course, so each store gets a case that has 2 of each figure in there. So, you get for wave 13, right? You get 2 Dino Charge Blues, 2 Beast Morphers Yellows, 2 Putrids, and 2 Dino Fury Greens. Well, I do actually have the case breakdown for wave 15, and it does not match that. The case breakdown for wave 15 is going to be 3 of whoever Lanesboro is, 3 of whoever Lake City is, and only 2 of Lee Sport. So Lee Sport is going to be a slightly short-packed figure. It's not going to be back in the days of waves where we had 1 figure that had a 1 per case, because for the longest time, for some reason, they used to have this thing where it was like 3-2-2-1 to make up the lineup before they just went to the logical 2-2-2-2 lineup, and now we're going to get a wave with a 3-3-2. So yes, that does imply that there will not be a 4th figure that's filling that other case thing to still have 2-2-2-2. So if anybody was curious about that, that is kind of my evidence as to why I don't believe that we're going to get a repacked figure to go alongside to still make it 4. We're just getting a wave of 3 figures. And due to the fact that from sources and stuff like that I had heard and compiling a bunch of information together, I had only ever heard of 3 more upcoming figures before I, kind of exhausted all of my secret stuff that I wasn't able to talk about for a while. And that was, of course, Turbo Red, Lightspeed Blue, and RPM Yellow. And because I hadn't really heard any figures beyond that, That's why I'm safe in saying that those 3 are the figures in Wave 15. I don't know which one is Lane Spore, which one is Lake City, which one's Lee Spore, all that kind of stuff. But those are my reasonings as to why I didn't address the missing number, why people still thought that there could be a 4th figure, and why some people thought there could be at least a repack like Wave 7 had. So I hope that I addressed it all. I hope that it was also concise and comprehensible. If it wasn't, we can continue to talk about it, of course, in the comments below here. But yeah, Wave 15 is a weird one. I don't know why exactly. It does have me a little worried, especially because I don't have any listings beyond Wave 15, so I don't have a Wave 16 listing at all. At least I don't think I do. And also, I have literally zero idea, and this is I swear on it, even with all my sources and everything, I have not heard a single thing, even something I can't, even something I can't share. I haven't even heard that for anything beyond Wave 15. So, I don't know. Take that as you will, and I am very curious now to see what this wave is going to actually be whenever we do finally get to see it. Hopefully soon, probably by the summer. And with that, that is going to do it for this week's episode of Lightning Storm. Of course, until next time, I'd love to know your guys' thoughts about anything I talked about down in the comments below. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter at LivingRangerKey or LightningFigPR. And I'll see you all in Lightning Storm. It's usual lightning always strikes twice.